It's Beyond Wrestling. This is Denver, Colorado. The man, not the place. How about another free match? Coming to you from the Wrestle Factory, featuring two more competitors from NYWC. We saw what Stockade and Jesse Vane were capable of. Let's have our first look at Francis Kip Stevens, who's applying those protective glasses, eliciting a safety first chant from the other wrestlers ringside. Going to be going up against Blake Morris. Now, obviously, looks can be deceiving, but I would have to say that Blake Morris probably has the advantage coming into this contest. Right there, we see the strength on display. Trying to mess up the hair of Francis Kip Stevens, and he snapped the protective eyewear across his face. It'll be very painful, but it's not going to be enough for Morris to pick up a victory. Morris walked right into that one, literally. And Francis Kip Stevens pushing him right down to the mat. I like this guy, not backing down one iota. Able to stay one step ahead of his opponent. With that drop toe hold on the ropes, keeping him in position. And that cross body. All impact right on the back of the head. Francis Kip Stevens looking to fly. Climbing to that top buckle. Great execution on that missile drop kick. Turned Blake Morris inside out. Talk about not wanting to judge a book by its cover. Francis Kip Stevens is winning over a lot of fans today here at the Wrestle Factory. He's got to be careful, though. Having to avoid contact with that big pillar in the center of the Wrestle Factory. But he couldn't avoid contact with that big post holding up one of the corners of the ring. Now Morris just pulling him in by the hair. I'm going to think perhaps he's a little bit embarrassed that FKS has had such an advantage since the onset of this contest. And now rather than focusing on attacking his opponent, he's attacking instead the protective eyewear. Might be taking a little bit too much time right here. Francis Kip Stevens got the boot up. Morris caught it. And Kip is just out of arm's reach. But got a big face full of Blake Morris's arm with that clothesline. That's for damn sure. That exchange good for a near fall as Morris continues to taunt Francis Kip Stevens, trying to fight back up to a vertical base, but just overwhelmed, bum rushed into that corner. Elevated onto that top buckle. Trying to fight back. He's got opponent by the head. He could not execute that DDT. Blake Morris putting on the brakes. Trying to find a counter. But instead we see the inside cradle. Is that going to do it? Only good for a 2 count. Francis Kip Stevens trying to take advantage of a moment of hesitation out of Blake Morris. Instead, Morris just too powerful. Sent him face first into the buckle and right on the back of his head with that early-style German suplex. Might be taking a little bit too much time getting to the pin, though. And a very lackadaisical cover. That could have cost him right there. Back and forth action. You hear Morris screaming out, "Are you kidding me?" Now just paintbrushing Francis Kip Stevens. Caught him with that forearm shiver. Just snapmaring him into position. Keeping him in the center of the ring. He's got that cravat applied. It's going to be very difficult for Francis Kip Stevens to counter from this position, but not impossible. He's going to get right back up to that vertical base. That's what he did before he could build any momentum. That boot to the midsection doing the damage. See, up and over, avoiding contact right there. Now with that O'Connor roll. Morris still with the wherewithal to kick out. Comes charging in. Now another crucifix pin out of Francis Kip Stevens. Blake Morris out at 2 once again. Francis Kip Stevens struggling to get back up to his feet. Could not get out of the way of that forearm. Every single one of these shots from Blake Morris, a potential knockout blow. Great combination out of Francis Kip Stevens. Nothing but the top of his head to the breadbasket. And taking Blake Morris down. Picture perfect execution on that Bulldog. Is that going to do it? No. The other wrestlers around ringside have certainly thrown their support behind Francis Kip Stevens, but is that going to be enough? We see the knee driven into the skull, but Morris has him elevated up on his shoulders. Just dropping him down, snapping the back of his neck on the kneecap. Morris arguing with the official and blatantly going to the eyes, just unloading a number of shots. Morris saying that he's teaching Francis Kip Stevens a lesson. As we see him scaling to that top rope, the high rent district, as it were. Perhaps going to be responding with a missile drop kick of his own. No, instead, great execution on that flying cross body. Francis Kip Stevens rolled through and pick up the victory. He stole one right there. Great perseverance out of Francis Kip Stevens. It could have gone either way at a number of points in this contest. Gonna give Blake Morris credit too. Was able to withstand the early onslaught from Francis Kip Stevens. But Stevens outsmarting his opponent, using his momentum against him and picking up his first ever victory here at Beyond Wrestling.